waters. We treading some deep waters. I told y'all, we scuba diving right now. We ain't jet skiing. We going deep. And let's just be honest. The culture is different than the kingdom. You know, if some of this gets out, I may get some emails or some text messages. They may try and cancel me. But you can't cancel what God has chosen. But because we're talking about things that don't fit in with the culture and society. Let me go on and give this to you real quick. Everything that Jesus, that God creates, he builds on a foundation of humility. The kingdom that's built on a foundation of humility. Why? Because Jesus is the king. And how many of you all know that the king came not to be served, but to? That's humility. The church is built on a foundation of humility. 1 Timothy 5:17 says, let the elders who rule well be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. What does that mean? That means that the church is built on humility and honor. We should honor those who lead well in ministry. The government, Romans 13:1 says, let every person be subject to governing authorities. But there's no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. God can even use evil for a holy purpose. So just because we see people governing and they don't know God doesn't mean that they can't be used by God. God is God. He'll use whoever he wants. You don't have to volunteer. God just gangster like that. And guess what? He also built family and marriage on the foundation of humility. Ephesians 6:1-2 says, children, obey your parents in the Lord. But this is right. Honor your mother and father, for this is the first commandment with a promise. We going in on 5th Saturday. You better bring your kids to youth takeover on 5th Saturday, the last Saturday in July, because I'll be talking to them about what honor in the home looks like. You don't want to miss that Saturday. And Ephesians 5:21 says, and this is for the married folk in the room or those considering marriage, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. We submit to one another in marriage out of our love for God. Remember, I told you that there are two camps. There's an egalitarian camp that believes that men and women are equal both in value and in position. There's a complementarian camp that believes that men and women are equal in personhood or value, but not equal in position and authority. And it's clear that in marriage, not because the woman is any less than the man, not that she has any less value than the man, not that she's any less gifted than the man, but because of humility and what God is teaching through the entity of marriage, he has chosen that even though they're equal in personhood, I'm going to make them unequal in position. I'm going to go deeper. Jesus and God are one. But the Bible says that Jesus humbled himself and let God lead him to the cross. They're equal in personhood. But as it relates to the work of humanity, Jesus submitted and put himself lower than God. So women, it's not that you don't have value. Your value is the same as the man's. But because we believe in Jesus Christ, we submit to the lead of that CEO of the home. If I was to break marriage down in business terms, y'all know I love business. Here it is. The husband is the CEO, the chief executive officer. He leads. He's the point leader. The woman is the COO, chief operating officer. Y'all know women make stuff happen. They coordinate and put things in order oftentimes. The husband's the head, the woman's the neck. The vision. That's a part of the headship. And making it happen. The neck. Anybody ever had a crook neck? So we're going to put crook neck marriages on the altar tonight. I'm going to help you get that crook out of you, because a happy wife is a happy life. Let's go. Genesis 3:16 says that he said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth, and you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. This is one of the punishments that came after man and woman sinned, after Adam and Eve disobeyed God. Now, many in the egalitarian camp who believe that men and women were equal but before the fall, but they lean on this text because they're saying, you see, it wasn't until after sin that God created the hierarchy for marriage as a punishment. But remember, marriage isn't a punishment, it's a picture. Marriage is a picture of Jesus Christ's relationship with the church. Jesus is the husband, the church is the bride. So this is not a punishment. What Moses is saying, many theologians believe that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. What Moses is saying here is this. Not that you're punished, not that I'm going to make you lower in position because of your sin. The text doesn't say that. It does say that you're going to have a desire to control your husband after sin. Oh, gosh. I got it. I'm sorry, Mama Hatcher. People online going to be mad. I got to come down. I shouldn't have to push this point too hard. Any break? Where's my wife? Ladies, let's just be honest. I know it ain't all the time. But deep, down inside, don't you just wish your husband would do what you wanted him to do? Okay, she don't want to. Is there raise a hand if Brandy, we ain't gonna person. I know you holy, but deep, like real deep down is. Don't you just want Lamar to do what you want him to do?
Absolutely.
See, somebody who be. I shouldn't have to push that point too hard. Deep down inside. Real deep, because y'all holy, but you just want your boo to do what you want him to do. That came after sin. Let me explain why. This came after sin because shame came after sin. Oh my goodness. Adam and Eve ran from God because sin brings shame. When they bit of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, watch what happened. They didn't just have knowledge of holiness, they also had knowledge of hellishness. So now what God is saying, because you have the knowledge of good and evil, it's going to be hard for you to trust a man to lead you because you know he ain't all the way right. He's saying, you're gonna see his flaws, but because of your trust in me, I'm going to ask you to submit to something that's not perfect. We submit because of our relationship with God, not because the person is perfect. Let's go back to the original teaching. Jesus was God in the flesh. And when he came to be baptized, he, the shepherd, was baptized by the sinner, John the Baptist. So even God said, I'm going to let somebody imperfect lead me in this specific area of my life. Because when you believe in God, you know that he'll work all things out for good for those who love him and have been called according to his purpose. And so you can't be out of line with your husband and in line with God at the same time. How can I say this? How can I? let me watch this. The literal Hebrew phrase in Genesis 3:16 says, toward your husband, your desire. Since this judgment is predictive, the future tense verb will be was added. So it says your desire will be for your husband. It's not talking about a desire to be with your husband, because that would be great. It's a desire for your husband. Because of sin, we second guess people's intentions. Sin causes shame. That's why God came in the garden and he began to look for Adam and Eve, because he used to commune with Adam and Eve every single day. But after sin, they began looking at themselves and then realizing that they had a holy God that they had been communing with, and then they realized that they didn't deserve to be in the presence of God, and now they're looking at their shame. But at the same time that they were looking at their shame, they're second guessing the character and nature of God, because will God love me even in my shame? So there's something in all of us that pushes back against authority, because there's something in that person who has authority that we don't trust. And then there's something in that person that has authority that we don't think they'll trust in me. And so we distance ourselves versus connecting ourselves. So when God says the marital picture is going to be a picture of humility, what he's saying is you can only submit to your husband to the degree that you're willing to submit to me. Because you got to trust that I'm leading him. And that even if he makes a mistake, because you did what was right, I'm going to cover and protect you and use that bad for your good. Now, this only is in the context of holiness. You can't ask your wife to rob a bank and be mad if she say no. Because somebody in the back said, I got her. We got a ride or die chick back somewhere in the back. She said she can ride with her man wherever he goes. But don't call Chosen for your bail money. Here it is. Men, here it is. This is why we got to be in the Word. And ladies, sometimes when your husband says the Bible says, it's not because he's trying to beat you up with it. It's because he's trying to let you know that this isn't coming from him. Watch this. There was no contention or controlling desire before sin. After sin, shame came. After sin, the nature of man and woman changed. So now God is saying, it's going to be hard for you to be led because there's something in you that doesn't trust. There's something in you that doesn't like authority. There's something in you all of us can testify that there's times when we're in relationship with somebody, whether it's in our career or whether it's in our home or whether it's a child with their parent, that there are times where we're aggravated with authority. So sin increases the struggle between the sexes. It's because of sin that there's a battle for authority in the home. Now watch this. Because of sin, the devil has a door into relationships. 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, but there's one thing I want you to know. The head of every man is what? The head of every woman is what? And the head of Christ is, if Jesus could submit, let me explain what headship really is in the home. This will bless you. Headship has to do with representation. Headship is when one person acts on behalf of another. Genesis 3:6-7 says, the woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful and its fruit looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it too. At that moment, their eyes were open, and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. It was the man's sin that brought shame. Why? Because he was the head. He represented the home and had to be complicit before consequences of sin could take place. Everybody say representation. Have you ever asked yourself, why are we born in sin? Why are we born broken? Why did nobody ever teach you how to lie, but you knew how to do that very well? Why nobody taught us how to be selfish, but before we bought a thing, we were screaming, mine, mine, mine. How is it yours and you ain't paid for it? There is something in all of us called sin. Why were we born in sin? Because of the law of representation. Romans 5:12 said when Adam sinned, sin entered not just Adam, it says sin entered the world. How did sin enter the world? Because Adam was the world's representative. Adam was the first man that every other creature would come out of. So out of man came sin because Adam was man's representative. That's why you don't get into heaven because of your works. You get into heaven based on who's your representative. When you get to heaven, we get to say, Jesus Christ is my representative. Adam no longer represents me. Adam is the sin nature. Jesus is the holy nature. I gave up my sin to Jesus, and I got his holiness back from my hellishness. You ought to give God praise that you got a representative. Somebody that took your ratchetness and gave you his righteousness. Somebody. It's the law of representation. Blessing in your home is contingent on who represents it. Ladies, don't you say I do because he got a nice car. Ask yourself, is he my representative? If I don't want you repping for me, if I don't want my life tied up with yours, if I don't want my home tied up with yours, if I don't want you influencing my kids, if I don't want you influencing me, I can't say I do no matter how cute you are, because I only run with folk who I trust representing me. So when you get married, what you're saying is, I want this man as my representative. I want his holiness to be mine. I want his discipline to be mine. I want his leadership to be mine. I want his vision to be mine. Ladies, you have a personal relationship with God, but when you got married, you also have a partnered relationship with God. There's some things you can't get from God unless you get it from your husband. Ooh, I knew it would get quiet. Some of y'all are struggling because you pushing away your representative. When you got married, you said, I am going to lean on him to get to where you ultimately called me to be. When you got married, you said, I am submitting to the law of representation. And so God then said, well, if you want to fulfill your destiny and if you want to fulfill all of your purpose, you're going to have to submit to your representative because I'm giving part of it to him. Some of you depressed and you don't have to be. You ain't connected with your husband. Some of you anxious and frustrated and aggravated and you don't have to be. You're just not leaning into your leadership enough. There's some stuff you can't get out of you until you get into your husband. Oh, I knew it would be hard. I knew it would be hard. That's why the devil is whispering to you. Because the devil knows your husband is your representative. And if he can keep you disconnected, he can get you out of your destiny. That's why it's so hard for you to love him. That's why it's so hard for you to overlook his faults versus fuss. That's why it's so hard, because the enemy is working in between you just like he was in the garden, because he knows that when a man and a woman and a husband and a wife are on the same page, there's no devil in hell that can prevent their destiny. I want to ask you a question. Are you rejecting your representative or respecting your representative? Oh, it's not rhetorical. Because when you respect, remember, men, we submit to the woman's needs. Ladies, you submit to the man's lead. Are you respecting or resisting your rep? Here's a couple questions. Ladies, I'm going to help you. Single ladies, listen up. It's about to get good. If you had to rank yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, how high would you rank yourself in inviting as your nature? Ladies, I'm going to make it black and white. Most ladies are alienating or inviting. Proverbs 25:24 says, it's better to live alone in the corner of an attic than with a quarrelsome wife in a lovely home. I didn't write this, y'all. Men have a natural strength. Most men are naturally stronger than women. I believe that was God's way in creation of showing that man's job is to protect his bride. Men are strong in muscle. Women are often strong in mind and mouth. They ain't gonna put their hand on you, but they'll put that mouth on you quick, and they smart. You trying to figure out what you, and you like, and that way you just walk off, you just like, most men, we can't think as fast as they, so we just grunt. We go, that's why you got so many holes in your walls. You just. So women's muscle oftentimes is their mouth. And here's the question. Are you alienating or are you inviting? You wonder why he always with his homeboys and you complain. It's because his homeboys honor him. He likes kicking it with his homeboys because they say, what's up, King? Hey, how you doing, man? Is you good? They're inviting. So, and men are very attracted to praise. Men are very attracted to respect. Men try to act tough. We not. Men are very, very sensitive beings. Men are more sensitive than women. Why you think we shoot and kill each other? Because somebody stepped on our shoe. Y'all think I'm tripping. Think about it. Men are sensitive. Yo, you see how he looked at me? Like, bro, I was just walking down. Man, he stepped on. I'm like, go get my gun out the car. You sensitive. Pipe down. I was telling a young group of men I was talking to at the African American Male Initiative AAU. I said, man, the hardest dude just need a hug. Bro, it ain't that serious. We sensitive, especially when it comes to disrespect. So ladies, you got to be sensitive to this and ask yourself, am I alienating him? Does my man want to? You should be the person your man wants to be with the most. And let me help you with that. All you got to do is respect him. All you got to do is encourage him. Don't alienate him. I got another one. Are you annoying or encouraging? I didn't write this. Proverbs 27:15 says, a quarrelsome wife is as annoying as a constant dripping on a rainy day. Stopping her complaints is like trying to stop the wind or trying to hold on to something with greasy hands. Oh, that's so good. I didn't write this, y'all. Y'all, let me. You ever tried to hold on to something? You just put on some lotion and then you can, and you like, I can't get, it's hard. Have you ever been in the house be like, what's that noise? What is that drip? It's, ladies, sometimes you gotta chill. My wife hates this term, so I don't use it as much, but I just can't help it. Sometimes I'll say, it ain't that. And she'll say, you can't tell me what's that serious. I'll be like, you right. You can't tell me what's serious. Yeah, you're right. It ain't that serious to me. But I have to submit to her need. But ladies, seriously, it can't be about being right. It has to be about being righteous. And you get more, what's the saying your grandma used to say? I don't even know it. You get more something with bees than, yeah, that one. Like, just let it ride. Everybody say, let it ride. Don't meet him at the door with mess. Especially, and again, I'm only saying what I'm saying. It does not fit with every single situation. But what I'm saying is oftentimes, especially those who, and this can go for a man or this can go for a woman. If you're the main breadwinner and you have the pressure of providing the household money, oftentimes when you come home, you want to be greeted with love and honor and joy, a big smile, a big hug, because you had to fight the world all day long. At least let him get some coffee. At least let him cut on ESPN for a few. Don't meet him with a list. The list will be there. Let him relax. I told you last week, most of the time, I think TV has done this. I think movies have done this. Men have been miscasted. For men, it's not just sexual, it's safety. I'm about to bless a single person's life. Come here. This is why you got to read the Bible. Do you know that Delilah, her name means delicate? How did Delilah get the strongest man in the nation to fall asleep on her lap and tell him his darkest secrets? It didn't say she was fine. It said she was delicate. Strong men love safety. If you want a strong man, if you really, for real, want the right representative, if you really want a leader, ladies, it ain't about how fine you are. Can you make him feel safe? Can he trust you with his heart? Are you inviting to him? Do you give him a space where he won't be judged and he can make a few mistakes and you'll love him anyway? Men want safety. How'd she get the strongest man in the country to take a nap? To rest, to put the work down. She was delicate. Samson could walk in there and feel, man, I feel relaxed. I feel good. Strong men want peace. You can't buy peace. If you can make a man feel peace, oh, you won't have to worry about him cheating, ladies. Because they don't cheat for romance. They cheat for relaxation. They just looking for a place where they can lay their head and not hit. Yeah, the drip. God has put something in your man that your honor has to draw out. Oh, I'm going to rewind and repeat it. God has put something in your husband. He would not have given you a head if the head didn't have something that you needed. But the level of your honor determines what you have access to. So if your man doesn't feel like you'll listen, if your man feel like he got to fight you to hear what he's saying, if your man feel like you just going to push back and every single time he has something challenging to say, he going to keep it to himself and you going to be the one without. You remember I told the men the degree that we love will be the degree that they submit. I can reverse it and say also, women, the degree that you honor will be what you have access to. Because if you respect him, and he knows you want to hear him, he knows you trust his wisdom and vision, he will pour into you and you will begin to grow in your purpose because God gave half of it to him. Love it. Ephesians 5:21. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. I'm going to do an altar call for all my married women, just like I did for my men. I'm going to ask every married woman to make their way to the stage. And I'm going to pray that your love for Christ grows so your love for your headship can grow. Because you can't give your husband what Christ hasn't given you. So ladies, here's the cheat code. You gotta lean into your relationship with Jesus so that you can lean into your relationship with your husband. Because it says right there that we submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. So ladies, remember that husband, you want to love him, you want to help him, you want to support him. Why? Because he's your rep. And if he's good, you better. If he's encouraged, your house grows. If he's living in his purpose, you're growing in yours. But you can't do it without Christ. Because it goes against your sin nature. What we're talking about, humility, comes out of a pure, holy heart that we can't have if we don't submit it to Jesus Christ. Ladies, you gotta love that man. Love him like the church. Submit to him as the church submits to Christ. He's your rep. You wouldn't roll your eyes at Jesus. You wouldn't roll your neck and walk away and mumble under your breath at Christ. Some of y'all say, well, I mean, if he catch me at the wrong time, Jesus could get it too. Yeah, y'all. Y'all gangster, man. Y'all said. That's why y'all at the altar, I'm praying.